It is time now for Money, Power, Politics. Paramount has emerged as the winner in the battle to control Warner Brothers Discovery. This means two major news media companies, first CBS, now CNN, would be controlled by a major Trump ally. Paramount, which is owned by the Trump-friendly Ellison family, recently sweetened its offer for the company, which owns CNN and other properties. Netflix had also been vying to buy Warner Brothers and had been given 4 business days to counter, but Netflix only needed a few hours to walk away from the deal entirely. In fact, they walked away just hours after CEO Ted Sarandos visited the White House in what appeared to be a last-ditch effort to prevent Netflix from going to prevent the Netflix offer from going belly up. It's worth noting that on Sunday, Trump also threatened Netflix if it didn't fire board member Susan Rice, after she said that it would not end well for companies that bend the knee to Trump. 2 days later, David Ellison, that Trump buddy, joined Senator Lindsey Graham as a guest at the State of the Union. The Paramount deal for Warner Brothers is still subject to regulatory approval. With me now to discuss, Gillian Tett, columnist and member of the Financial Times editorial board, and Max Chafkin, Bloomberg Businessweek journalist and host of the Bloomberg podcast, Everybody's Business. Thanks to both of you for joining me. Gillian, I want to start with you. In a statement, Netflix said, quote, "This transaction was always a nice to have at the right price, not a must have at any price." But it's almost impossible to imagine that politics did not play some role here, right?
Well, absolutely. I mean, this is basically a story worthy of any kind of movie in itself, given all the plot twists and last-minute dramas. And we're not yet finished with those because, in fact, tonight, California has indicated that it's going to scrutinize the antitrust component of this bid very, very closely. So we can't assume the deal's even going to go through at the moment. But what's fascinating is that, yes, there was a price issue in all this, in that essentially Paramount raised its bid by about $1 a share, which meant that as far as Netflix was concerned, it was no longer, quotes, economic to pursue this. And of course, they get a breakup fee as well, a nice handy $2.6 billion because of all this. But the fact that the political aspect has really come to the fore, with Ellison turning up at the State of the Union speech, and at the same time Trump threatening Netflix over Susan Rice, is very striking and another sign of the degree to which this government is now increasingly encroaching into the corporate sphere in a way that, frankly, would have made old-fashioned Republicans spin in their grave.
Max, so to Gillian's point, you know, there are a lot of political benefits, presumably, for the deal to go through in Paramount's favor, political benefits to Donald Trump in any event. The Ellison family has already expanded its influence over American media. Paramount owns CBS, Comedy Central, many others. If the merger with Warner Brothers Discovery goes through, they will own CNN, HBO, and some other properties. And also, I should note that Paramount already co-owns TikTok after a deal with this administration, or the Ellisons do, rather. So what kind of impact over the national discourse could the Ellisons have after all of this, and what do you think comes of CNN?
I mean, it's going to be a diffuse impact, right? Because you have multiple constituents, one of whom is the president of the United States. So the Ellisons obviously still need Donald Trump, and you know, they're going to be more media deals, that, you know, this is going to be a continued relationship. But it's clear that Trump and his administration want a more conservative-friendly media, and the Ellisons want to build a big media empire. These are regulated industries. They require regulatory approval. And so you have this kind of sort of synergy between the private and public sector, just as Gillian is talking about.
Gillian, I'm curious, is this actually a good deal for Paramount? It seems to me like they're throwing a lot of money at it.
Well, that's a very, very good question. And it's quite telling that Netflix shares rose quite sharply after it was announced that it was withdrawing, because there are a number of analysts out there saying, well, the streaming business is not exactly a happy place to be right now. There's a lot of competition, a lot of very rapid change. And it's really not clear whether this is actually going to be the extraordinary moneymaker that Paramount is presenting it as. Now, the reality is the media business is indeed in very fast flux, and maybe Paramount thinks it can consolidate in a way that's going to essentially create a lot of value for it. But once again, it's worth noting that for California, for the Attorney General of California and the people looking at the antitrust question, the fact that one of the ways that they're actually going to make their money back is by raising streaming costs, that is in itself is going to be very political, because you can see a potential consumer backlash and potential action on the regulatory front.
Max, we are also following this drama between Anthropic and the Pentagon. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has effectively threatened to blacklist Anthropic because it says that it doesn't want to cooperate in dropping its safeguards that it has put in place to limit some of the things that its software Claude can do and allow the U.S. military unfettered access to its AI. Those safeguards include, I should mention, a ban on mass surveillance and fully autonomous weapons. In a statement, Anthropic CEO Dario Amodei said tonight that these threats do not change our position. We cannot, in good conscience, accede to their request. So what do you think happens here, given these threats to use the Defense Production Act to take over, it seems, or to seize this intellectual property, or to blacklist?
Well, it's important to say that there are competing chatbots here, and there are competing chatbots that are politically very well connected. So one of them, xAI, is owned by Elon Musk, of course, Trump mega donor. The other one, OpenAI, its executives, Sam Altman and Greg Brockman, have been making huge contributions. And Greg Brockman in particular has been making mega contributions to Republicans over the last few months. And so they are now suddenly in an advantaged position here. And, I think it's important to say this is a dispute over whether this chatbot should be directing weapons autonomously. This is a tool for summarizing emails. It is really far from being able to direct weapons. I mean, that's the part of the reason.
The singularity is not near.
That's part of the reason that Anthropic is saying, like, hey, you should not plug this into a weapon system. I think from the point of view of the Pentagon, you do have a principle. They do not want this, what they see as a left-leaning company dictating terms. But I do also think there's a political component as well.
I mean, I also kind of wonder if it's good advertising for Anthropic that it looks like the Pentagon is so desperate to use their technology that they can't live without it. But anyway, as you point out, they do have contracts, I guess, with some of the other competitors.